right, welcome to another episode of Adding Perspective with Josh from Josh.
I'm Coach Nrgy.
I'm Aphrodite.
And I'm Emmanuel.
All right. This week I may be on one. Okay, so I'm just hyped. Okay, I'm hyped. This is gonna be a good episode. So this week we're gonna talk about being open and honest in your relationship, right? Some people call it like keeping it 100, being 100% with your partner. Like, is that always a good thing to be that honest, right? To be that transparent with your partner. I think that that's kind of the topic that we're going to kind of lean into today. But when I guess whenever I started kind of thinking about that particular topic, the first thing or the first place I went was all the reasons why keeping it 100 would go wrong, right? Like all those situations where it's like, okay, maybe this is not the right time to be this transparent. Like let me not say this, right? Because I know if I say this, it could either A, cause an argument, right? Or B, somebody gonna be embarrassed, right? Like somebody might not like that, right? But I also think that sometimes when we talk about like being transparent and 100% honest with a person, I think that sometimes things need to be, even if it may hurt, or even if it may rub some feathers, because sometimes a lot of things, especially from I guess the relationship example, a lot of things some people just don't see. I mean, if they do see it, they just don't acknowledge it. So I think that sometimes, things do need to be said, but I think that's a fine line, though. But what you guys think?
So I definitely don't believe like that all the way keeping it 100 transparency conversation. And one reason is what I've found is people really don't want the true transparency or that keeping it 100 conversation that you're going to give them. Or they might not be prepared for it. It might not be the time for it. Some things should be left unsaid. In my personal opinion, I don't think you should say everything. In my personal opinion, yes, some things you do need to speak about, but some things you can keep to yourself when you keep it in 100.
Yeah, that look right there. Yeah, that one. Yeah, man. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah, like it's like you was tuning up to something. Go ahead, let it out. Be vulnerable.
I think I agree with Aphrodite to a degree. I think I'm a person who likes to be honest and forward, and it doesn't always go well, but I have found that people can appreciate knowing that there will be honesty and candor in the way I communicate. In a relationship, it just depends on the person that you're in a relationship with, right? Everybody receives things differently. Everyone's able to receive differently. It also depends on how you communicate when it comes to being honest 100% of the time. You can be honest, but the delivery and the communication is huge. The timing is huge. And I think that with that, it helps, but I don't think you can be 100% honest in every single moment in a relationship. I just don't. I've done it. It hasn't worked well. I've done it in various occasions. It hasn't worked well. And I've learned through those experiences that it cannot be effectively done because, it can be something very simple. Maybe a dress she has on is ugly, in your opinion. If you tell her that, it's not really going to go well, right? Maybe something she did, or maybe some food she made was terrible. Well, the food was terrible. Well, that's not really going to go well. It's just like there's certain levels to where you can't always be 100% honest in a relationship, even beyond that. Maybe it's some other woman that tried to talk to you. Sometimes that creates insecurity when you're telling them about every instance of a woman entering or trying to enter your life, even if you don't feel it. Just the thought of it or the mention of it, it starts to create insecurities. Sometimes it's just being 100% transparent and honest about everything just hasn't boded well for me and my experience. That's my take.
And I found that even a person who always speaking, talking about they want true transparency or they want that 100, they really not prepared for that. Like they speak as if they really can receive it. But when it comes, it's really not what they really wanted to receive.
I want that. But it takes a certain person to be really able to receive that. Like Aphrodite's saying, like you have to be at a certain place where you understand that this is just someone being transparent with you. They're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're just trying to be honest, and that's really it. That's really it.
So you want to know what messes people up though?
What?
Tone and delivery.
Yeah, delivery is big. Tone is big. Timing is big. I think sometimes people just can't handle the truth.
Hey, no, I'm telling you, like, again, nobody wants to 100% hear the truth, like, ever, to a certain point. But when you get that tone and you get that delivery, oh yeah, you really don't want to hear. Like, you really don't want to see it because, like I said, some people, and this is not everybody, but you have people that are very animated when they speak, right? And their voice may be normal average volume may be a 4, right? But they're communicating on a 7, maybe, or even but this is just their normal voice, right? They speak very passionate. I call it passion, but they speak very passionate, right? So when you're trying to relay something very important to someone, but you speak very passionately, it may come off, right? Like it may come off as you're kind of putting that person down or something, or you might be trying to demean, talk to that person in a certain kind of way. And sometimes people take it that way because, again, based on tone and delivery, it's perception, it's how it looks, right? So I think that a lot of that just messes people up sometimes is I guess people not knowing how they communicate, right? Like the individual, like the communicator, right? Not knowing how you communicate to others can really just cause a drawback to just that whole keeping it 100. That's just my opinion. Nrgy, what do you think?
I'm one of those people you're describing. I'm a passionate communicator. I am a very exaggerant communicator when I'm talking about a subject or a topic that is important to me or that I feel, passionately about, as you described it. And so for me, because I'm aware of how I communicate, I make sure if it's a person that doesn't know me that well, I let them know, hey, just so you know, I'm about to start talking fast. I'm about to use a lot of hand gestures, and I might get loud, but I'm not yelling. So for someone who doesn't know me that well, I'll explain it to them once I see that we're about to get into a really good conversation. It doesn't have to be anything, bad. I can speak that way about something that's super exciting and fun and lighthearted as well. But for those who are, who know me, then they already know, okay, because otherwise I'm really quiet. Otherwise I'm a listener. Otherwise I'm the one that's, receiving the information. I don't do a lot of talking until it's a topic or a subject that is just one of those few that I really do want to talk about. So yeah, as you were saying, I have to be mindful as being one of those people. I do have to be mindful of how I'm saying what I'm saying and either tone it down, catch myself and tone it down, or just explain to that person, hey, just so you know, this is just how I talk when I get excited, or, you know, I'm going to start talking fast. I'm going to start getting loud, but it's not me yelling, or I'm not angry. I'm not upset. This is just one of the ways of how I express whenever I'm communicating. So I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I always tell people that that's a superpower.
What?
Like being able to deliver your message in that way, which is very precise and very poignant. Like even the people that speak very passionately, right? Like they speak at a certain level, that's a superpower of theirs, like of that individual, right? But the thing about having that type of power is learning how to meter it, which is learning how to turn it on and turn it off. Like when you need it, right? Because most times people don't ever get to that point where it's like, okay, and this is kind of out of place, but sometimes whenever an individual is not as self-aware as they need to be, sometimes they let that just go. And you just talk the way that you want to talk to everybody, like the same exact way. And sometimes that's not always the greatest thing to do because everybody interprets information differently, right? So that means that, you know, you may be like closing a person off because you're communicating that way. And that's not that person's intention. And that's not what they're meaning to do. That's kind of why it's important to figure out if this is my power, if this is something that I know that I have. Learning how to shift gears depending on the person that you're talking about, talking to, would allow that message to be heard more effectively.
Yep. And it took it wasn't just anything, and I'm not necessarily saying this for y'all, but maybe for someone listening, it's not anything that may happen overnight. You know, for me, it took some time to train myself. I literally did have to do the work to train myself to be that effective communicator, to be that person who's in control of even the passion and the excitement, even if it just means pausing, explaining to the person that I'm speaking with or speaking to, hey, just so you know, I'm about to start going in, but I'm not mad or angry. Is that okay? As soon as they give me the appropriate response, whether yes or no, if they say yes, it's cool, then I know that I can, you know, just kind of keep it going. Otherwise, if they say nah, or if they kind of have that little hesitation or something within their body language or their facial expression, then I know, okay, I'm not even going to go there with them. Let me just tone it down immediately. And then I'll just speak, you know, in a more standard level, but they're not about to get the full me because they're not ready or able to accept that. So yeah, but it definitely does take some time to get to that point. For me, I did have to kind of train myself to control it. So yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's probably like you have to ask whoever those individuals are before you roll out that 15-point plan.
I mean, you know, I'm always about getting permission.
Be like, is this okay?
Yes.
Can I roll it out? Like, can I roll it out?
Yeah, you gotta get permission. Whatever.
But let's talk. Let's segue over to when being transparent can go wrong. You know, like the many ways where being transparent can go wrong, in those situations where being transparent can go wrong. Right.
Right.
So, as an example, right, if a person is not doing well in a certain area, picking the time and place to be transparent is probably your best suggestion, right? I'm gonna clean it up for you, okay? I'm trying to be very vague. Right?
Yeah, because
trying to be very vague. I see that look on Aphrodite's face. What is he talking about?
No, come on.
Hey, so I've heard stories of women that were undersatisfied in the bedroom area, and immediately after, like literally after the whole thing is over, is when they express their dissatisfaction. Right. I would say that's not the best time to express it. Okay. I would say that it's not the best time to just be like, this was not what I expected. Okay. Like, that's just me, right? That's just an example. That's just.
Depending on who you ask. Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing about timing is that it can add importance. So if this individual decided that they just had to tell you immediately after intercourse took place, it adds a layer of, I guess, weight to whatever they're saying, where that weight may not have been felt at a later time. Yeah, you might have heard it, but the weight might not have been the same, right? And that weight is really what the speaker is probably trying to put on you so that you understand how big of a deal it is when they're just doing it then at that moment, that immediate moment. Now, that may not always be the case. Sometimes it's just a lack of self-awareness to know that may not have been the time, but other times it could be someone who actually is self-aware and someone who really wants to make it very clear that this is serious, this cannot happen, this should not happen, this needs to be a certain way, and they may not delay from a time standpoint.
Yeah.
I think that in some cases that's more effective. In some cases it's less effective because it could crush someone depending on what's being said and how it's being said. It could crush someone depending on their ability to kind of receive that in that way. It was really
Yeah, it is. I was just in my head when you were explaining it. I was like, man, if you're going to say that, can you at least wait somebody put their clothes on?
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't think you would have got that far.
People just sitting there, just laying out there naked, just like, you know what? Just roll over and be like, I didn't like any of that. All that was just bad. Okay? See you, man? Like, I can see where that could just go completely wrong.
Yeah, that can go south.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just bad timing.
Yeah.
Or what? Everybody, why is your face? Why are you looking like that?
She's been making faces since we started talking.
Like that?
Yeah. I agree, but I also think it depends on like what type of communicator, what type of person, like what type of relationship they had prior like to that little incident. Because sometimes people that keep it in 100 at that particular time can stem from some mess back when, back in the past, and they might think it's, well, I know, like I've heard this before. Well, I know you might be thinking I'm trying to be mean or something, and then they just might come out and say it, and it's like, so you didn't think that was mean? You thought that was appropriate? I just want to keep it. I'm just trying to keep it real. Like, I think you have to consider the person that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I always think you got to consider the person that you're with. That's kind of why I was kind of bringing up that particular scenario, because, I mean, I guess this is my personal opinion. Even if it was like bad per se, wait till tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait till they brush their teeth. Then go ahead and tell them that. Don't be up there just like.
I understand what Emmanuel was saying, because it could be impulse too.
Yeah.
So, like, some people just impulsive, not saying that they like intentionally just want to do that. But it could be impulsive. Like, they could be an impulsive person, and that could have just been their passion at that moment. Not saying it's the right timing. So I do understand what Emmanuel is saying.
So my question is, because I'm curious, and this is probably a little bit off topic, too. Is that something that somebody on here would do? You know what I'm saying? Just be like, okay, I'm not satisfied. Let me tell them immediately. Okay. Nobody gonna say it up. Okay. See?
I've done it before. That's why I say impulsive. It was on impulse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just not my style.
It was on impulse though. It was not to hurt the person. It was like I was feeling some type of way, so I was impulsive.
I would probably just not mess with him again. If it was my significant other, we would have to have a talk about it. But I know personally,
I was in my backsliding days, as Josh would say. But I
wouldn't mind doing it. I just know, I try to communicate in a way that will lead to good reception, right? I want the receiver to receive it, So I know that if I communicate that at that time, in that moment, that it's not going to be received well. So I don't see the benefit in doing it. So I would just wait. That's my take on it. Or yeah. Ain't nobody receiving that well. It's just not gonna happen.
It's not gonna be received well. I don't think even the person who on the other end, Bill, they're talking about they want all that 100% transparency. They still gonna feel some type of way.
But this would be my question to y'all. When y'all were in that situation, was this your significant other? Like, was this your husband or your boyfriend?
That's the only option for me. I'm not out here just sleeping around. So yeah, it's definitely in a committed relationship for sure.
So in that instance, immediately, literally seconds, minutes, they were notified of your extreme displeasure.
So there's some layers in there. One, I wouldn't say it would be extreme, because if it's extreme, I'm going to say something in the moment. We had a conversation about this before on a prior topic, and I was giving y'all examples of coaching the person in the moment, like, whoa, slow down here. Not so it's not going to get to that point. So I will say it and communicate things even in the moment, because I'm going to be very mindful, very thoughtful and gentle on what I say and how I say what I say. Because regardless, like you said, depending on the person, it may not be received 100% well, no matter if you say it in the moment, a few minutes later, or 2 weeks later. It doesn't matter because of the topic itself. But for me, I think that it's better to say things as soon as possible, because if you tend to wait and then you come back and talk to that person about it, it can make that person be like, well, dang, that was 5 days ago and they just now saying something to me. So you mean to tell me this has been on their mind this whole 5, you know what I'm saying? It can make a person feel even more, it can feel worse if the timing has passed, a lot of time has passed. Because then a person is like, well, dang, I wonder what else they've been thinking about, or it's been on their mind this whole time. And then now they decided to say something. Well, why now? So I like to just nip it in the bud as soon as possible. If it's an extreme situation, I'm going to say something in the moment and kind of do some coaching. And then, or afterwards, if it's not that extreme, I'll wait a few minutes, but I'm definitely going to say something while that atmosphere is still there.
Yeah. So yeah, I deem that as respectable.
Okay.
Right. What I was getting from Josh was not respectable. It was like, all right, we did it. stop, you're trash. You know, where
that's the way that I was describing it right there. That's the way that I was describing it.
That's what I was getting.
That's what I was describing.
In my mind, I'm thinking there's no way someone's going to do that to their significant other. But that's why I asked, oh, was this your significant other? And then I got further clarity, and I'm thinking, I'm understanding that you're making them aware, but it's not as aggressive when it comes to the delivery. If that's correct, right? So I guess to Aphrodite, were you thinking that it was more of an aggressive delivery? Like, you know, no, this ain't gonna work. Or is it more, or were you along the lines of the coaching and guiding and?
So with my situation, I had been abstinent for like over a year. And I had been talking to the person for like 3-4 months, right? We have been talking, dating, whatever you want to call it. And mine was a little aggressive only because like, yeah, this been happening a while. And yeah, mine was a little aggressive. And it wasn't like, I didn't say stop in the moment, but like, literally after I was like, oh, yo, I can't do that again. I didn't stop it in the moment.
Yeah, that's better though.
At the end, I was like, yo, I can't do that again. Like, I can't.
That's better. That's better.
Josh.
Look at Josh. No, that's really better because one, you didn't completely just stop midway, but that's already a win, right? Because there's some people that may not have even finished through follow through, right?
Ain't nobody winning in that situation. Okay? Ain't nobody winning.
You got to finish.
She got disappointed and he got cussed out. Nobody winning, okay? Like nobody winning.
So my direct conversation to that person, and I had a best male friend at that time, but my direct conversation to that person was, that can't happen again. I can't do this no more. Like this, and I was saying some other stuff, but this is the PG version of it. So it was horrible. No. And I think I really felt some type of way because I was like, hell, I've been abstinent for over a year and been talking to you, and then I get this. Ooh, I could have saved myself. I was really mad at myself.
But I think in both of you guys' situations, y'all had a consideration for the way the message was delivered, or the way which is what I think is what we were kind of getting at, just the consideration for how the message is delivered. Because in one case, there's a more progressive coaching and guiding. And then even in your situation, it wasn't an abrupt discontinuation of the action that were taking place.
The act that was taking place. Yeah, but it was only like 2 seconds anyway, so I couldn't stop that.
Well, hey, man, I mean, I don't know if you can call that action, but I get it. Okay, so, but hey, look, even still, you hung in there. Okay, so that was consideration.
We done.
Is he giving you a pep talk right now?
That was consideration. My whole point here is
he's coaching you through this.
My whole point here is
coaching you through this.
That we do consider the way we deliver messages, even in sensitive times, I think we still consider that, and we're not 100% wrong with delivery as we could be. And that is in consideration of the person that we're communicating with. That's my whole point.
But wait, you can't say that because she said, ew. Like, that ain't being considerate.
I think I was being considerate.
Yes.
I was just being considerate because we're on this public show.
Yes, but you still did more than you might have initially wanted to out of consideration. There was some consideration for the person in play, right? You may not have been as expressive as you may have really wanted to.
I was very expressive.
I'm not saying you weren't, but could you have been more raw and clear about the way you felt?
No, because I can't even say what I said. But I was like, I can't do the 1-2 second thing. That doesn't work for me.
Okay.
So done. No.
Okay.
That's how expressive I was.
Oh my gosh.
Josh, you started this.
Hey, I didn't. Okay, I didn't start this. Okay, like I started some of it. Okay, and then it erupted into a wildfire. And then it just like that. Okay, like that's what happened. Okay, like. But
I was later told that by a good male friend of mine that like I probably should have waited, but I don't think so. It didn't matter. We ain't talking no more. I told him to look at my number. We good.
Okay, so let's look at this from a different perspective here. Okay, because that was bedroom perspective. Okay, so let's look at it when, say for instance, person's with somebody and they live together. They have let's say 2 kids together, right? Mm-hmm. They both work outside of the house, right? And one gets home before the other, right? So one person gets home before the other person. So if the expectation, right, is for one person to start doing something before the other person gets home, right? And subsequently,
they don't.
Yeah. Right. But there's a valid reason, right? It may be a valid reason why that didn't happen, right? Then you have to get to a point where do you address certain situations like that, or you don't, because there's a variable, which is the 2 children, right? There's a variable, right? Which they have to also take care of. So,
what would be the valid reason, though? The children?
Well, it could be a whole bunch of different reasons, right? But okay. I'm just going from a transparency point of view, right?
Okay.
Both people work outside the house, right? Both people equally have roles to play, right? Sometimes those roles don't always work out. But you still have to be sensitive to both sides of the equation. I think that sometimes whenever we talk about like being transparent and keeping it 100 or whatever, right? I think that some people sometimes, especially with that example, don't have consideration when they talk about keeping it 100, right? Like both parties being considerate of each other, right? So typically what ends up happening in that scenario is that when one person gets home, they don't see what needs to be done, automatically there's a conversation that ensues of XYZ, right? But in either keeping it 100, right, if that actually happens, that eliminates the whole point of being considerate of that person and the other person as well. So I think that sometimes, and I guess I brought up this example, is sometimes people are not they not considerate when they think about they just keep it 100. Like when you keep it 100 all the time, there's no consideration.
And I think that's what I was trying to get at the beginning. Like you have to be I think I said that too. By just being considerate of the person you actually keep it in 100 with, and who you're in this relationship with, and the transparency that you really displaying. Because it's not always, I just don't believe at all times you need to just be keeping it one. I just don't believe that at all times. I think some things you just should keep to yourself. Keep that 100.
Yeah. I mean, even that situation there, Josh, like, you can still keep it 100. You just need to have consideration. You know what I'm saying? So, like if you don't have consideration, then your 100 may be a little more reckless, but it is still your 100, and it's probably not going to be beneficial because it's going to show how inconsiderate you are. You know,
that's why you need to be quiet and keep it to yourself.
But you're right, bro. That could be a personal issue they need to work on. I don't know if that means that they should, because then once you start holding, it only worsens, right?
I'm not saying hold everything, but when my thing is, if you know your deliverance gonna be jacked up, or if you know this about yourself, because a lot of people know a lot of things about themselves, they just do what they do. But some things, you also know the person that you're dealing with. So if I was in that situation and I know my partner that I'm dealing with, and they might have said whatever the variable might have been, we can even think of variable, because if you've been in that situation before, you already know, like, things come up, things happen, so you know that. So I personally probably would be like, wait a minute, let me pause for a second to figure out what's going on. Only because I've been there before, especially when two people working outside of the home, they got kids, and life does happen. But if it's a recurring thing, like it always happens when they get home first. Now that might be a whole nother subject of keeping it 100.
You explaining real hard.
I know.
Like what I'm hearing is because someone isn't mature enough to communicate that they shouldn't keep it 100.
I'm not saying you shouldn't keep. Listen, it's a certain way in a certain time way. We just discussed like a conversation, but all they keep is some people just not. You could keep it 100 and then what? You can keep it 100 and it could cost you your relationship. Is it worth it?
Depending on what the issue is, that person may be impacted in a way that could cost the relationship too. So whatever the issue is and however that person feels about what they walked into, that may impact them in a way where if they don't communicate and get off their chest, then the relationship gonna be impacted too. So all I'm saying is keeping it 100 sometimes is more beneficial for the sender than it is the receiver. Because if the sender got something,
and that could be an issue too.
Yes, it could, but it could also be an issue if it doesn't get out, if they're not able to express it. It could be an issue either way. It really could. That's why I don't believe in pacifying it by telling them to just swallow it, because they may not be mature enough to communicate it in an effective way. That's a personal issue they got to figure out in order to, be successful in their relationship. But they can't. I don't think it helps to not express yourself when something affects you to a certain degree. I think that actually is probably detrimental. I'd rather someone be reckless and we work through that than them not communicate it at all, and then they just start to like it just like goes bad. It's just like inside they start thinking things and feeling things and then doing things, and Yeah, I'd rather them be reckless in the way they talk. And we'll get over that hurdle, but at least they can feel free to express themselves, to be honest and true. But we got to get over that hurdle. Preferably, that wouldn't be a hurdle I'd be dealing with, but if it was, then that's just my take on
it. Me too.
It should be, ask questions. Hey, babe, what happened this evening? I thought we said that, you were gonna do or fix or whatever. Oh yeah, and then determine if it's big enough to gripe over, or if not, move on. But at least
But that's being considerate.
Huh?
That's being considerate of your partner.
Right, it is. But at least
talking about an inconsiderate, keeping it 100%.
An inconsiderate 100 person would say the same thing. Why you ain't fixed dinner? That person just literally walked in the house. You ain't fixed dinner yet? Like, and inconsiderate of what this person done gone through, what their day has been, and that's gonna affect that person depending on what they've gone through themselves. But they were at least 100, and it's detrimental either way it goes. So I don't think there's a lot of room for inconsideration in a relationship. But I definitely think that if that person didn't say anything, if that inconsiderate person wasn't able to express themselves, they definitely would have started to move away from the relationship after so long. So they're not happy, and it's a double-edged sword.
It is. It definitely is. When you were saying that, those inconsiderate people are probably those people that's been stuck on like 285 or 75 for like an hour trying to get home and stuff like that. You get off and they did that. Yeah, that's when you go off. That's when you go off there. Like, I just got out of this car. I've been here like for an hour. Like, this is an example. Okay, just say it, right. But that's part of the whole theory of keeping 100 and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think that's just a recipe for disaster. To be fair, like it is. It's a recipe for disaster. It is. I mean, there's not really a huge percentage point wise of, okay, on average, if I keep it 150% of the time or 40% of the time or whatever the case may be, anytime you keep it 100, you run the risk of hurting somebody's feelings, right? Which means that you run the risk of them building some type of resentment, some type of anger because you kept it at 100 with that person or whatever. And depending on what tone, right, like what delivery you use, like it's not really a perfect scenario. Like it's not.
That's assuming the speaker is reckless and inconsiderate.
So but honestly, it doesn't really matter at what or how you deliver a message sometimes. Like you can deliver a message in the sweetest way possible on a level 4 sometimes. But if a person, depending on who the person is, everyone's emotional state is not equal, right? Like everybody does not receive messages in an equal way, right? Like sometimes when you hear something, I guess negative, from a person that you're close to, sometimes you have those people that it could be something small to you, but when they hear it, they start punishing themselves. You have those people that's harder on themselves than anybody else will be harder on them.
Yeah.
Like,
I think what we're not giving enough credit to is not being transparent hurts the sender. Like it can hurt the sender just as much as being transparent can hurt the receiver, right? So keeping it 100 sometimes, like I said, is for the better good of the speaker or the sender. And like I said, like you can everything you don't tell the speaker now is burdened with, right? That's the way I think about it. I'm not gonna sit there being mad about something and not communicating. I'm gonna find a way to word this stuff so my message can get received. Because I'm gonna be burdened by it and I'm not gonna be happy. And
well, what happens? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good.
So what happens if you have the type of receiver that says that's the only thing they want is you to keep it 100?
I mean, I'll do that until I find that they.
But the trick is to it is they really can't receive your keeping it 100.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to try and work through that because I mean, the only way I can accommodate that would be for me not to be expressing some of my concerns. If they can't receive it, I mean, I can try to be very, very careful about the way I communicate it. And
but they say it's not gonna hurt your feelings. Oh, it ain't gonna hurt my feelings. So you talking to me, you better keep it 100. That's not gonna hurt my feelings. I want you to tell me everything. Like, that's not gonna hurt my feelings.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that.
But it hurts their feelings, and they get mad, and they huffing and puffing. But they want you to keep it 100.
And then I'm gonna tell them, hey, you know, when we kind of talked about getting together, we communicated that we would be 100% with each other, and that's what I'm doing. And you said you were fine with that, and that's what you wanted. Do you want me to start not telling you stuff? And guess what they're gonna say? No. Nobody's gonna say, yeah, don't tell me stuff. Don't tell me what's going on. Nobody's gonna say that. So I'm gonna say, all right, I'm being honest with you. I'm being upfront. This is what you wanted. But now it's seeming like you don't want me to do that. Do you want me to start keeping things from you? She's not gonna say yes to that. Nobody's gonna say yes to that. So then if she truly isn't happy with someone who's completely honest with her, then she'll probably leave. Which I don't like. I mean, it could happen, but you know, I think deep down, people would really appreciate that. As much as it might annoy them a lot, it's a certain level of comfort that comes from knowing that someone's going to tell you the truth, even if it don't sound good. There's some comfort behind that.
100%. I agree. As you were talking, I'm like, you're speaking of conversations that I've had before. What it is, yeah, people who may ask for, you know, the truth, transparency, being real, for people to be real with them, they are just not used to people actually being real with them. So when they are interacting with someone who is actually being real with them, they're not used to it because that's just what, majority of the people out here are going to, kind of not tell the whole truth, not be honest, not be fully open because of, I don't want to hurt the person's feelings, when it could be, like you were saying, detrimental to that person or whatever, or just an uncomfortable conversation. And we have to get over that. So for me, I'm just right there with you, Emmanuel. Like, I'm going to always keep it real and honest and open and transparent with a person. Yes, my delivery may be at various levels, but all of those levels are going to be truthful. All of those levels are going to have transparency within it. The thing is in that scenario that you and Aphrodite were going back and forth in, if you just continue to be honest and transparent with the person, eventually over time, they will learn and will learn a way of how to accept that, which is doing nothing but helping them in the long run anyway. It's just kind of like whenever you're in a relationship with someone, you know how they say you have to teach a person how to love you. You have to teach a person how to communicate with you. You have to, it's a thing that you're learning with people, two separate people that are in a relationship or that are just simply communicating with each other. You have to learn that other person's style. And if at the end of the day, if both people are at least keeping it honest and transparent, the respect is going to be there. The respect is going to grow, and that person will learn to appreciate it over time. It may not be easy at first because they may not be used to it. But over time, just the human aspect of it, the human being will learn to appreciate it because that's what we really want. It's just that we over time of years and past ways of how people have handled us or how people may have treated us, we may be a little bit more sensitive, but it doesn't mean that we don't really want it. So sometimes it just takes a person a little bit longer to say, okay, just go ahead and tell me I'm good, I got it, as opposed to fighting it.
I don't think everybody who say they want true transparency and 100, it really wants that. I think they just be speaking out the side of their neck.
I think they
down
want
they do. I think they do deep down.
Yeah, I think they want it. They just don't always like it.
Or they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to handle it.
You gonna
They're
ask?
not used to it.
Yeah. You gonna ask anybody? So, do you want your partner to tell you the truth or lie to you?
Well, the thing about it is, you know,
Delivery
in tone. Delivery and tone.
Delivery and tone.
Yeah.
You want the person to tell you the truth. Delivery and tone is important. It is. But it's still the truth at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But it depends on when you get that truth, though. I think it does. It depends on at what point you choose to deliver that truth. And then at that point where you choose to deliver that truth, is that delivery right? Is that tone right? Is that face right? Like that facial expression, is it right? Because if it ain't, okay, that truth gonna hurt bad. It's gonna cut this. It's gonna cut it. It's gonna cut it. I'm just saying, it's gonna hurt.
I mean, I agree with Josh though. There's got to be delivery, tone, and timing. I think like it's like, yeah. I mean, people want the truth, but they still want to be respected, and they want to receive the truth with, you know, as most of a genuine approach as it can be. And because that's when they know it's coming from a genuine place. It's not just to put them down or hurt them or, you know, make them mad. It's that delivery and that tone kind of gives them that confidence that it is a genuine truth that their partner just really wants them to be aware of. And I think that'll increase their openness to the truth on a more consistent basis when it's like that.
You got the facial expression part too. You forgot that. It was 3. So
Facial expression.
yeah, you have. Don't forget that part. They just.
Yeah. Tonality is big.
That's important. It is.
Yeah, tonality. Yeah, you tell the truth with good tonality and delivery. I'm telling you, people gonna like it.
And that face be right. Oh, you good.
Don't be aggressive. Talk slow. I'm telling you that aggression will kill anything. Okay. Mm-hmm. Aggression will kill anything. Okay. People don't like aggression. They don't like that.
That's true. That's true.
Nope.
That is true.
Yeah.
Nope.
Say part of keeping it 100. Okay. Great. Yeah, but I'm changing my vote. Okay, my vote. Nrgy done changed my vote over here. Okay, well, guess we gotta keep it 100 now. Okay,
yes.
Like gotta keep it. Everybody gotta keep it 100. But my vote still gonna be these amendments, right? Delivery, tone, and your facial expression. Okay, watch all that. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, timing too. Right place, right time. I'm gonna put that in there too. Okay. Timing is everything.
His 15-point plan.
Timing is everything. That's like a 4-point player right there. 4 or 5-point player right there. Okay.
You been some.
Those are key topics though. Those are key. Okay. Those are preventative measures. That keeps the conversation a conversation and not an argument. Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. So I think this is a great way to kind of end this beautiful episode of adding perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
Have decorum in your conversations. I'm Coach Nrgy.
I'm Aphrodite.
And I'm Emmanuel. Keep it 100 with them.
Respect.